This is the DNA Pest Control Podcast with your hosts, Daniel and Anthony.
All right. Welcome back to the DNA Pest Control Podcast. Anthony, are you there?
I am here. Do you hear me loud and clear?
Perfectly.
Awesome.
All right. Ready? If
I'm ready.
Man could slap you, which man would you choose?
So what would be the reason of the slap? Just to slap me on the face?
Yeah, just to get slapped. Like, if you could choose the man to hit you, who would it be?
Well, give me a multiple choice question there.
You just get to choose. You choose whoever you want.
Termite Terry.
Oh my goodness, that man's hands are probably so soft.
No, they're thick and calloused due to his hard work he does on the pest control field.
I doubt it.
So what's today's topic, Daniel?
Well, I think you have this one. You and your news. Let's hear it.
Yeah. So this isn't new news. This happened a few days ago. But do you hear me type in there? Because I actually have to look it up real quick to see exactly when it.
You know what that typing sounds
out.
like when you're on hold?
hey, hang on. Let me look it up for you.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't see this in the archives. And because I did that, I just did a bunch of crap on my computer, and it's freaking out now.
Oh,
man.
Let me pull this up. Unprepared. Let's see. Venus.
I have it. So the title of this podcast is Life on Venus. And essentially, they found a gas known as phosphine. And if you go read any article, all the scientists say, well, the only way that you can get phosphine in an atmosphere is with life. So if you put two and two together, there might be some life on Venus.
So you're telling me that a cockroach made it to Venus?
It is entirely possible that there's a German cockroach infestation on Venus. I wouldn't doubt it, to be honest.
So did they? No one knows what life form.
No, because the exploration for Venus has not been the priority. A lot of people look to Venus's sexier cousin Mars as a planet to explore. But Russia, the Soviet Union, I think, explored Venus, and then they landed a camera-taking device. Excuse us, we're very dumb towards science, but they landed something to take pictures, and it blew up eventually, but they snagged some pictures. But other than that, no one's ever really paid any mind to Venus until a few days ago. They discovered phosphine in the atmosphere.
Wait. So how do you discover that in the atmosphere if you have nothing there?
So essentially what they did was they looked at it through and I'm going to have this in layman's terms because not only do I need it, I'm sure a lot of technicians need to explain this way too. Essentially, they have like a lens or a certain type of radio telescope or something in that nature that can look at planets with a different like filter on. You know, instead of just looking at something with the spyglass, they have it to where it's looking at different signatures of, molecules and gases and things like that. So a group looked at it essentially at Venus with that type of telescope, and they discovered phosphine in the planet's atmosphere. And they're like, hold on. So they brought other people in to try to debunk what they found, because essentially they're like, well, the only thing that makes phosphine is, life or artificially made, either organically or artificially made in the lab. And there's no labs on Venus, at least I don't think so. And I think actually one of the scientists did say, well, the only time we see signatures like this are usually when there's a severe German cockroach infestation. And what they also said in the article was like, but usually when Anthony goes there, there's no phosphine anywhere around the planet because all the cockroaches are dead because he's such a good technician.
Oh.
So check, the New York Times wrote that.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, and they also said to support us on Instagram, Twitter, or whatever, and to like and subscribe and share our podcast. That's what they said too on the New York Times.
Wow, that's intense. Yeah, we have the in with a lot of people.
Yeah, of course. And also, really quick, please look it up. Just type in "life on Venus." It's been going crazy. It actually happened. It looks like 4 days ago is when a lot of discoveries were made. So it's pretty hot news right now. Please read the articles because I'm an idiot, so I probably explained it very terribly. But now that we got the explanation out of the way, we could move on to the podcast of what do you think about the potential of life being on a different planet so close to us, Daniel?
I don't think it's very close, but I don't know. I don't know what to think about that. I think we have plenty of things going on here that will be okay.
So let me ask you this, Mr. D. What if it's a hyper-intelligent, high-sophisticated, high-technology, flutin' alien species that's been probing Earth and abducting humans and cows, and they're our neighbor, and they live in essentially cloud cities amongst Venus's atmosphere using ships that could traverse space and time to Earth extremely quickly?
Well, what was your question?
I don't know.
You just went off on aliens, but you didn't actually ask anything.
So what would you think of? So here's my thing: is when is the first spaceship going to shoot towards Venus to do pest control?
Venus, never. Mars, soon.
Well, I would be one of the techs that would go to Venus. All the other ones would be like, we're going to Mars. And I'd be like, yeah, Mars is a huge breezeway. And nothing over there but a bunch of webs.
Well, so listen. So actually, I have something that's kind of similar. So I did see something. I think the Pentagon let it go, or the Air Force, or somebody let it out, where an F-16 pilot or whatever, I don't know what airplanes they fly now, but one of the jets actually recorded a UFO, which is unidentified flying object. So we don't know. They actually have their own terminology for it. But they couldn't lock on, and it actually jammed his radar, which is an act of war in our rules, I guess. So if you jam someone's... Yeah. But it didn't. That happened. The footage came out just recently, but it didn't. It happened like in 2004 or something like that.
Yeah. And then Pentagon says aliens or something. I did see that too. And did you hear the statement the Pentagon made as well?
No, I didn't. I don't think so.
So essentially, I'm trying to look for the quote. Essentially, they said that they're acknowledging that and this is their words right here, I don't have the full quote, but they have possession of craft not made on this earth. The Pentagon said that last month. That was like the game-changing news that they've admitted that they've been dealing with these not-from-Earth objects, and they admit that they have possession of one. And this is a quote from the Pentagon, not made on this earth. So unless it's made at the International Space Station, where else could it be made? So they're dealing with it, and yes, they can't lock onto it. It doesn't give heat signatures, and there's something crazy that it could travel 60,000 feet in like a second or something. And they don't. In America, like the USA, doesn't know what it is, and they easily rule out it being the other world powers such as China and Russia. Because China and Russia are dealing with the same thing. They don't know what it is. It's like some kind of strange entity that just goes crazy. Like, did you hear about, I don't know if it was Japan or China, that a UFO flew over it and shut down their entire nuclear facility and just disappeared before they could do anything? Can you believe that?
That's awesome.
It is awesome. But then this is all happening, and then, we're over here worried about which cockroach bait to use in the next circulation so we could avoid,
beta version.
beta version. Yeah. So what do you think about this? Is crazy, and this is all happening like today. The 2020 is when a lot of the big stuff went down, essentially, where the Pentagon said, no, we have not made on this earth, craft. They said that officially, and also now there's potential life on Venus, and also they're releasing clips and recordings from interactions with unidentified flying objects that they can't explain. It's pretty exciting.
Yeah, I think it is. I think everyone, I mean, if you're worried, I say don't, because if they were going to do something, they would have done it by now. So,
yeah.
Even if there is something out there, if it had the opportunity to attack, it would have already done it. So, and I think it's all out of what they want. If they wanted us to find something, they would leave something for us to find.
So, and that's one of the things too is, and you could tell that I'm well versed in this because this is something I'm interested in. I like reading on it. But essentially, if you believe, I think his name's Lazar or something, he was on the Joe Rogan podcast, and he also has a documentary. He claims he was a worker for Area 51, the infamous alien base in, I think it's Nevada or whatever.
Yep.
And he claims that he tried to reverse engineer, these alien crafts that he said he couldn't even comprehend the technology the crafts were using. And, he claims that, hey, they're real. And I don't know, man. It makes me excited because it's definitely, what if it is real? And, it's like, what are the possibilities after that? It's just going to cause, I think, all of the world and all of humanity to question it. And everyone's going to realize, well, there's more than just us and our silly politics and our silly beliefs,
Yeah. Oh, it'll be awesome. It'll disrupt a ton of things. But my brother-in-law, he has a friend who is in the Air Force.
He's an alien?
Yeah,
sorry.
Pretty much. No, we actually called him because we were watching a bunch of documentaries. This was years ago. And we asked him because he's a U-2 pilot, or was a U-2 pilot. And this guy, he did say, he's like, yeah, we've sent jets after things and we have no idea. We don't know what they are. And so he didn't say,
he said that?
Yeah, he didn't say they were aliens. He just said, we don't know what these things are because we can't lock on them. And we try to chase them, but we can't even catch them. We can't even get close enough to see what they are.
So I know that isn't. How scary is that though? That there's something that, and America has the best Air Force.
Yeah.
So if there's something that's making our pilots look like toddlers in a volcano or something, that's a bad analogy. But just imagine that, how much more advanced the spacecraft is, and I know this is called, or I don't know what this podcast is going to be called yet, but it's just it's awesome because it's like Venus. There's life on Venus, maybe. Who knows? And then you also have, now the Pentagon's confirming, look, we don't know what they are. I don't know if anyone knows what they are on Earth. There's something though. These UFOs that are coming in and out, and I don't know. I'm just excited to see what's next in the future for all this.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see if they come out with even more information, because who knows? Because these videos came out in 2004. So you're telling me you have no sightings from 2004 to 2020?
Oh, there's a ton. San Diego was apparently a hotbed for strange aircrafts.
Well, Mexico City was a big one too, because there was videos on YouTube from people's cell phones. But
wow,
I mean, when you're going off of a video from a phone or something like that, I mean, how real can that be? When you have something coming from the Pentagon, I guess that's more real. But once again, they could even be blowing it up to where it's like, hey, let's make them think this stuff's going on too.
So another interesting thing that my dad actually said was that when I told him when the news first dropped last month, I talked to him and I was like, "What do you think?" And my dad, he's not too much of an idiot, he said, "It sounds like a sales pitch," which I'm like, that's true. So it could be something to get people hyped up and get people like, well, I guess we do need our tax money to go there now. So it does kind of sound like a sales pitch.
Did you hear what they just came out with, the Air Force?
No, what?
So they did just come out with a new jet that they're going to roll out. So
really?
this does make sense. You know, they just came out with this whole thing. There's UFOs, blah, blah, blah. Oh, by the way, we need, a ton of money because we need to build all these new jets.
And what are these jets? Why do we need more jets?
That's a good question. We have like 130, and each jet is millions of dollars. So, I mean, I don't know what we're doing with these jets that we have that we're not even using. Apparently, there's like 100 and something of them, but not even all of them work.
It's all conspiracy.
Yeah, but I mean, like, who's going to come out and tell the news? The Air Force is not going to come out and say, "Oh, hey, the world, just so you guys know, we have only 150 jets and half of them don't work." We're not.
Well, that's obviously they're not saying that. Like what I figured out is anything involving military. If someone says something, it's usually the complete opposite. Just like the whole, nuclear things where everyone's like, okay, we need to cut back on our nuclear arsenals as a world. But then it's like, yeah, we shut that plant down, but for a fact there's 10 other plants that aren't being audited, that are like, well, I mean, they're doing it too, and it's always that they're doing it too. So if they're like, well, we only have 150 jets and half of them don't work. Well, I'd assume they probably have 100,000 jets, and maybe half of those work.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's obvious that they don't. I mean, even when the U-2 jet went down here and just right in Lincoln, that was 4 years ago.
Yeah.
That plane supposedly is decommissioned. If you go online, it doesn't even pop up as an active military plane, but they still use it. And they came out with the public story. Hey, this is what we're going to tell everybody. The news is going to run with it. But this is what actually happened. So they do have two sides to it. So they won't come out publicly and tell you what happened, but they are going to put a story out, which, keeps everybody thinking, oh, okay, they told us the truth.
Well, of course, a lot of technology that we have today that we think is like, wow, this is the most amazing piece of technology, is something that like the military had 10 years ago. That, everything goes through the military first, then it becomes public. Like drones, they were using drones longer than it was access to the public, not only by knowledge but physically, and you always hear about it. I heard they had like a drone, and everyone's like, you're an idiot. And then, 10 years later, buy this new drone for $300 and has a camera. And everyone's like, oh, man, drones are awesome.
Yeah.
So, and who cares? Because when we run for president, and either we're going to run together and we're not going to have a vice president, we're going to press these matters, and we want the truth.
Well, I want the truth, but I'm not going to tell anybody.
Well, exactly. I won't tell anyone either. If I ever become president of the United States of America, I might run in 2024 or 2028. I'm just gonna be like, hey, I want the truth, but only for myself. That's what I'm gonna do.
Let's be honest. I bet there is a massive majority of the presidents who've come through that know nothing about the military. I bet they weren't even told anything.
Well, I think, if you look at it from like an outside point of view, I think being the president of the United States of America may be one of the hardest jobs in ever, because not only will half the country hate you always, but
yeah,
half the world hates you after you get out of your own country, and people would like to see you dead. And on top of it, every decision you make half of the entire world is going to hate you and condemn you. So it's pretty tough. I don't, and that's why you should vote for me for 2028 presidency.
Yeah,
I'm running independent.
But I think it's because people are ignorant. Because if people actually knew what really happened or happens, the president doesn't make decisions. He's not the one. He's just the face. He's the one that gets all the backlash. That's the same. That's the same with the. It happened at a bank just recently. God, what bank was it? Bank of America. No, it wasn't Bank of America. It was. I can't even remember the bank. But anyway, one of the banks, all the pretty much lower workers, they were just giving people just creating accounts under people's names so that they could get bonuses.
Yeah.
And then they ended up having to fire the CEO. The CEO had no idea that was even happening. But he got all the backlash because he was the one who was over the company at the time. But that's the same thing with the president. The president doesn't get to make those decisions. There is structure there. It's not like he's the king and he gets to, hey, we're going to do that and that's it. It doesn't work that way. But I do agree with you. It is super hard because they are the face of every good or bad decision.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter because they have a whole team of people around them telling them what to do, really. I mean, they make some of the decisions, but a lot of the stuff, it's not even them. They just have to take it. They get they're the ones that have to put that on their shoulder or on their back and run with it, even though it's not their idea.
No, I hear you. Also, it doesn't help that not only, it could be only America, but America is in the hands and pockets of the 1%ers and the rich that keep getting richer and richer, and 99% of America's wealth belongs to a couple people, and those couple people use that money to influence the flawed system of capitalism. That's why I'm communist. All right, let's get back to Venus. So what do you think kind of life is going to be on Venus?
Well, I know nothing about Venus, so I wouldn't even be able to tell you what it's going to be like.
So Venus is a planet.
Well, yeah, I know Venus is a planet, but
that's all I know.
I don't know anything about it, so I don't know what it would be like.
Also, I'm not a communist, by the way.
No, he's not. Russia just got really excited.
I know a lot of Russian listeners, their eyes may have widened a little bit when I said that because they're like, oh, come on over. This is not only mine, it's ours.
He's one of us.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Well, I don't know. I'm excited, man. I've always loved just space exploration and things like that. And I know the whole thing is well, we don't even know our own planet. And I get it, but you have to admit, instead of exploring the ocean, exploring space is much better or much more, interesting, at least in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, I can see some good and some bad because, we might have some really awesome solutions right here on our own planet instead of saying, you know what, screw it. We're just let the thing burn. Let's just go to the next one and use it up.
Yeah. Well, and I also, I just think, and that's the common misconception because especially if you live in a state of California as we do, everything's burning up around us and it's never been this way since I've been up here in the Sacramento area. It's never been smoky how it started a year or 2 years ago, and especially this year. It's never been like that in all my years here. And I came up here probably 13, 14 years ago. And just now until these final 3 years of that 14-year span, it's been like this. And, everyone's trying to accredit it to, climate change or things that were foretold and a lot of people ignored. And the crappy part is it's well, no, my high school class didn't ignore it, but what can a group of kids do when, the major pollutants are, from businesses and from, people trying to make a living. And it's pretty tough because, the fires and it's just everything's scary. But then once you see something look, Venus has life, or, oh, wait, we could colonize Mars, but you can never come back, but you could colonize it. So I do get, the importance of looking outside of Earth, looking away from all the chaos and madness, because it gives you like a glimmer of hope.
Yeah, no, I think it's cool. I think it's a good idea. I think it's awesome as, we expand, because the population's only rising. But when it comes down to climate change and things like that, I mean, we are on an axis. We are spinning. What do we expect? If the Earth is shifting, don't you think eventually climate will change?
Well, the Earth is, I don't believe it's spinning. I believe it's flat.
Well, real quick though, because I was having fun. Because on one of the apps, which is actually a really good app for technicians, it's AccuWeather, lets you know everything. But it was kind of cool. So I was going on there, and I was just playing around, and you can go on and you can see history. And it even pops up it'll give you like the highs and the lows of history. And I think it was yesterday in 1984, it was 106 degrees. Can you believe that?
Well, yeah, because the 80s, I wasn't born yet, but apparently the 80s were a hot old time. Get it?
Oh, yeah. No, I got it. But even, it even said today, in 2000, on the same day, it was 101 degrees. So we're not in the hottest, but I just think it's interesting that we blame a lot of things on something I don't think we understand.
Right. Well, and because I am the A in the DNA podcast, I would say that we both don't know, because we're idiots. But I would agree with you, kind of. The reason why there's a kind of is that I don't know. What if climate is changing because of us, or what if climate was inevitably, I can't say the word right now.
Inevitable.
But what if it was inevitably, there we go, I said it.
Oh, there you go.
What if it was going to inevitably change without human, emissions and things like that? We don't know. We don't even know how the human brain works, let alone how Earth works. We got an idea. We have, things on paper saying, okay, well, there's the Earth's core, and then there's this part of the Earth we call this, and then there's that. And it's like, okay, this is how rain happens. It's water constantly being recycled. So, I don't know. I'm not a scientist. The only thing I'm a scientist in is killing cockroaches.
That's right. And he's good at it. But you know what? I mean, if we do know that there's other intelligences out there, why aren't we focusing on that? Who cares what's going on here? Who cares if we're going to make it to Mars? Let's talk to them, because they obviously know something. I mean, if they can fly 60,000 miles an hour or whatever it is, and they can just turn on a dime and get away from a jet, I mean, come on. Shouldn't we focus on that? Try to figure out how to talk to them?
Yeah, and the spooky part is that once humanity started practicing nuclear bombs, that's when the UFO sightings and activity shot straight up. So,
well, do you think it's because of the technology, though? Because, I mean, how do we even record a lot of that stuff?
So do you want to hear an Anthony theory?
Let's hear the Anthony theory.
So regardless of, this is just the theory, but so if you go off the concept that UFO sightings and activity went up once humanity started practicing nuclear bombs, I think that, so think of it this way. When we go to a house and say you're not doing a technician, or say you're there for an hour and you could just mess around or, chill out, and say you're curious and you say, you know what, I want to watch this ant hive for 6 hours today. I'm going to check out what they're doing. I'm going to see where their trail goes. I'm going to see what they're up to. Now let's put that in this big old backyard that it's your backyard, and you watch these ant hives all over that backyard. And the ants can't really comprehend what you are. They're like, okay, there's that big thing again, but it's too fast for us. We can't climb onto it. Maybe we get lucky and get onto them, but only if it kind of lets us, because it got too it stayed still too long. So imagine that the ants started, oh well, now these ants have swords. What's going on? Like, they have little sticks. They start building these little huts. Imagine walking outside and there's like a little town of ants, and they're all like living and they're trading like little aphids. They have aphids as slaves and stuff. And they're like, yeah, you give me, a couple seeds, I'll give you 5 aphids. And then imagine like the ants' technology progresses until one day in your backyard they start setting off these giant bombs that are just destroying your backyard. And you're like, whoa, where are they at now? Are they going to just all obliterate each other? I think that's essentially what's happening to us. It's like I said, it's a theory, but I do think there's a hyper intelligent, much more advanced life out there that's just checking us out. They're just observing us. They're seeing what we're up to. Maybe there's some kind of species that uploaded its consciousness on a digital plane and they're immortal, and they love going throughout the universe because they know how to travel far into the universe somehow. And they're like, well, look at these humans. Like, they got the brain and they got the hardware to advance to our state, but will they do it? Usually the humans always blow themselves up, or they get into wars or this or that. And that's why you should vote for me for the presidency in 2028. Because
Anthony's gonna discover aliens.
But what do you think about that theory? Do you think it's essentially like my analogy of like just like us being the aliens and ants being the humans, and they're just kind of checking us out, seeing what we're doing?
I mean, it would make sense. I mean, it could work. I mean, it could make plenty of sense where they just were like, "Okay, let's see how this thing works. It's our little experiment. We'll show up every once in a while, just check on them, see what's happening, and see how far they come." I mean, I don't know. We'll never. I mean, we may never know, but
that's right.
That would be interesting. We're just a little experiment in their backyard. They're just checking up on us every once in a while, seeing what's going on.
And their terms for backyard is like galaxies, and they're capable of like opening up these wormholes that could traverse time and space in mere seconds. It's too much to ever comprehend, because the best thing I could ever make is a paper airplane. So
yeah.
Who knows what the heck's going to happen? But one thing I do know is that this podcast is on every platform you could think of, and it helps us greatly if you share it and rate it.
Yeah. And send us a message on Instagram.
Yeah, send us a message. Oh, I want to give a shout out. Where's my phone?
Uh-oh.
Do you have your phone on you?
Yeah, I got my phone. Who are we shouting out?
Someone messaged us on Instagram about, he's a listener. I don't even know where my phone is. He's a listener. If you scroll down, I think he has a more of a Spanish type of name. And he asked for advice on a certain thing about, like a lawsuit issue with doing initial services.
Oh, yep, right here. So Eric Solario.
Yep, shout out to Eric Solario. He messaged us on Instagram, and he messaged us for advice. We gave him the advice back, and he gave us a few comments on an episode. So there's your shout out. He didn't ask for it, but I just wanted to give it to him.
Yeah, you know what? We'll talk about that. We'll do an episode, and we'll talk about legality stuff and kind of what we do.
Yeah,
and maybe some tips on what everyone else can do in the industry and how you follow things. But yeah, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it, Eric. Don't worry.
Yeah, and I hope that puts a smile on your face, Eric, that the whole episode of the prodigy of a podcast known as the DNA Pest Control Podcast is going to be based off of your message to us on Instagram.
That's right. So thanks for listening in, everybody. And don't forget, like Eric, to message us on Instagram, and we'll message back. We promise.
Yep.
Hey guys, this is Anthony, and here's a quick reminder. We want to hear from you, whether you're a technician, owner, or operator. We want to hear your stories, whether it's a horror story on the field, a funny story with the client, or just something straight up crazy or weird you've seen. And how can you do this, you ask? Well, our email is dnapestpodcast@gmail.com. That's DANDA pestpodcast@gmail.com. You can follow us at Twitter and direct message us there at DNA Pest Podcast. That is D, the letter N, A, Pest Podcast. Follow us on Twitter. Or you can reach out directly through our website at dnapodcast.com. That's DANDA podcast.com. We want to hear from you, so let's hear it.